Hey all, right now it is 4:20 somewhere, and we have a few stories, and then we're gonna ask whether or not microdosing is actually real. So we'll start with a bill that was just introduced in New Jersey, which is a pretty promising bill. It is going to potentially legalize psilocybin in the state of New Jersey. Not only that, it would legalize therapy. It would legalize programs for psychedelic therapy and for taking shrooms in a guided nature. But this goes even further than other bills that we've seen in Washington and Oregon, where this one would actually make it legal to grow psilocybin mushrooms in your actual home. It says, quote, "It will also not be unlawful for a person over 21 years of age to grow, cultivate, or process plants or fungi capable of producing psilocybin for personal use, or to possess the psilocybin produce if the plants and fungi are kept on the grounds of a private home or residence and are kept secure from access by persons under 21 years of age." So that is a new thing. The fact that people will be able to grow psilocybin in their homes, that's great. I guess the other ones are kind of assuming that that's allowed or implying that that's allowed, but without actually coming out and saying it because they don't want to. But this one is really coming out and saying it. It has a bit of a promising potential here because the head of the Senate was the one to introduce this bill. So we should be seeing something happen here soon, because if the head of the Senate is the one introducing, then they probably have a pretty good idea of its chances in the actual Senate. So we'll see stuff soon. Next up, finally, Nevada is legalizing cannabis lounges in the state. We've heard a lot about Vegas having this really awkward period of tourists coming in and not being able to smoke anywhere because you can only smoke in private places, and so tourists are left with only illegal options. But now the cannabis lounges, which just came out today, will probably happen by the end of this year, will probably be open by the end of this year, are legal finally in the state of Nevada, and they are going the social equity route by having 45 licenses available. 20 of those 45 are going to be for independent places that don't have a dispensary attached. 10 of those 20 will be given to social equity applicants. So that's a pretty good amount, and that'll be exciting to see these pop up, these lounges actually pop up in Nevada. Finally, we are in a society, I think, where microdosing is more and more popular. It's gathering kind of a cult following around microdosing. Some people swear by it, some people don't believe in it at all and kind of pin it to just like the CBD craze as well. I guess I'm somewhere in the middle because I can understand, even if microdosing doesn't really kind of work for something, the placebo is very, very strong. And that's really the heart of this issue, is the studies that have been done are having a very difficult time distinguishing between placebo and microdosing. And for the most part, without attributing anything to a control group, microdosing seems to be beneficial. There's not really a way you can lose in this instance, whether it be by having a more peaceful mind, whether it be having just a more general happiness in your everyday life. All of those things you can get via the actual microdose or the placebo effect of a microdose. However, there's an article by the Green Market Report that kind of goes into these studies and shows how some are showing that, we don't quite have enough info yet or research done on microdosing to see if it's even effective at all. We're finding one that says the positive effects still just remain anecdotal, and we have heard lots and lots of anecdotes. People are very vocal about their positive experiences with microdosing. We have some that only really kind of dive into the upsides of microdosing and don't look into any downsides, if there are any at all. I have heard some people talk about when they pair microdosing, when they pair psilocybin with other forms of mushrooms, they get hot flashes sometimes. It makes them really uncomfortable. And another study that kind of showed that the effects of a placebo and a microdose were pretty much the same. A new study just came out this week that was good news, that showed a lot of positive effects, that in general the microdose over the placebo was a stronger effect. However, it then says in the actual study, it says, in some extant longitudinal studies have observed positive effects associated with microdosing, but have not been able to confidently estimate the direct pharmacological contributions to such effects. we are in the beginning, the origins of our understanding of microdosing and whether or not it's even real. I tend to believe that there is a logic to it. It makes sense to me that it would be a beneficial thing to have a small dose of a psilocybin thing, but we don't know. We don't have any evidence for its actual effect or its success or its potency or anything like that, and we need a lot more studies for this to happen. So if you're on the fence with microdosing, I would say it wouldn't hurt to try it. I think at this point you can definitely feel safe in trying it and see what it does for you. If it doesn't do anything at all, that's fine. Then that could be your anecdote. If it does do something for you, don't even worry about it whether or not that's the placebo working or whether or not that's the actual microdose. You're feeling better, you have more peace of mind, you're happier, then go for it. That's fantastic. That's a win-win no matter what there. So I'm curious to see more and more studies come out with microdosing. At this point, I'm not sold on its potency, but I think that it's still worth our time. And by the way, all of those studies are going to be linked in the description here if you want to check those out. And that's all we have today. We'll be back a couple times next week with some more stories. I'll see you then.